ultimately the spec level is going to move your budget more because you could have a $50,000 appliance package or a $10,000 appliance package. You could spend $10 a square foot on drywall finish or $5 a square foot. So you can really ratchet up.
Real builds, real decisions. You see the finished houses, and we uncover the steps it took to get there. I'm Krista, here with Michael, and this is Trust the Process podcast, where we talk about construction, real estate, and development. We pull back the curtain on the new home industry, the real estate market, and the trends shaping it all. Discover stories, insights, and expertise behind building a new home. In today's episode, we talk about where cost-saving decisions can go wrong or really prove themselves right, how underspec'ing impacts your build, and what to watch for before costs catch up with you later. If you're building, selling, buying, or just curious, this one's for you. Let's jump in.
Welcome back to Trust the Process, podcast where we talk about new home construction, the real estate market, development, and all things in between. So welcome back. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
I know. Thank you guys for being here. Today we are talking, actually, Michael and I have been on a call for a little bit and just kind of chatting through some things and had a few ideas that might interest you. So we thought we'd turn on the cameras and bring you guys into the conversation. We're talking today about spec levels, some of the new communities that we have going and our existing communities for that matter, and the homes that we have built over time and what we're putting into them and kind of what the market's dictating in terms of how much should we put in or how little should we put in or there to be afraid. I guess this is a fair thing to say, Michael. There have been a few homes that we kind of missed the mark on and where that took us or how it happened and the lessons that we learned from that and the decisions that are being made based on history and what we are learning as we go. So that's what we're going to have a conversation about. And I know you have a lot to say about this. So jump in, Michael.
Well, thank you. It's quite a lead in.
Take it away. I know this keeps you up at night.
It's probably, besides raising funds for development and raising loans and all that, it's probably the other 75% of what I do. I know that's probably 75,
It's
and then
a
this is at
lot.
least 75, so I don't know how many percentage
Yeah, it
points we have
holds
to
a
go.
lot of bandwidth in
That's a lot
the
there.
big picture of what we do.
It is. So it's spec level, yes. The reason we're talking more about spec levels, that's downstream from product type, right? So yes, we've already just determined product type, and although that can be very, challenging calculus to figure out what goes there, how big, certain things you can and cannot change, structural things, architectural styles, ceiling heights, just things that are very hard to change once the train leaves the station on the architecturals. But ultimately, the spec level is going to move your budget more because you could have a $50,000 appliance package or a $10,000 appliance package. You could spend $10 a square foot on drywall finish or $5 a square foot. So you can really ratchet up versus square footage if it's not bathroom to kitchens. An extra bedroom, those types of square footages are not expensive. Extra garage spaces, those are not expensive things in the scale of the entire house and the entire build project. So as all of our listeners probably know, we're built to sell developers more often than not, and vast majority of our business is a build to then later sell. So we're trying to thread the needle in the market and trying to tailor make this product inclusive of the spec level. When I say product, we're trying to tailor make it for where the market is going to be at the time that the house is ready, and hopefully build a compelling product that is not overspecced, but is also specced enough to be compelling to make that discretionary buyer jump. I would say probably of the majority of our buyers are discretionary buyers, or the majority of our lookers and kind of our demographic are discretionary buyers. They do not need to buy. They may already own a home here. If it's a second home, sometimes they're moving up to one of our homes as their second home. So there's definitely a reason, at least I'm speaking more to our luxury product, that we want to make these homes compelling. So if a buyer is coming from a $2 million home and trying to sell them on one of our homes at $275 or $3, they already have a Thermador appliance package or a Viking appliance package. They're used to these things. They own many other homes, or maybe their home in Illinois or in California or Washington State has the Viking package, Sub-Zero. They're just saying, why would this builder at $2 million or 2.5 not put these things in? Why would they have orange peel drywall texture? Why would they do these things? And we're trying to court that buyer. So it's you're dealing with a pretty refined buyer at that point. I will say a lot of the under 2 million is a more of an aspirational buyer, so you get away with a little bit more. And you're also trying to keep that price point into the low 2 million. So you do need to do some alternative. It costs more labor, costs more material to do X, Y, and Z versus
Right.
this option that will keep the price to the 1.7s or the 1.6s.
Right. And in the reverse, there are some things that you can do that aren't going to move the needle too much in terms of total price.
Mhm.
And while it's a little bit of labor, it's kind of, we get to that place and we're like, yeah, why not?
So yeah,
Right. It may or may not be a priority or a tipping point for that buyer when we do
right.
find our buyer. But for us, it's just kind of that moment to say, we're here.
We're
Okay.
here.
Let's
Let's do
just,
it.
let's just upgrade this or add this or, make this accessible, however it is. But yeah, so it's both.
A lot of that's components. A lot of those things, when you mention that, a good example of that would be our 5.1 surround sound, our ambient sound, our
Right.
smart home wiring, wiring for
Perfect example.
cameras.
Yeah.
They don't really move the needle much. We give our electrician and that company so much business that they don't nitpick us and say, "Oh, we pre-wired for 4 cameras at all the corners of the house." We're not going
Right.
to nitpick for that. So we're just like, well, might as well go ahead and do it. And then if the buyer says, "Hey, where are the cameras?" We'll buy the cameras as part of the contract, and there you go. We got cameras installed. So it's a lot of those little niceties, and we do that about
Mhm.
insulation, energy efficiency. We'll do those things that say, well, we already are going to spend 10,000 on this. This other option is 11,000. Let's do that. Let's do the better option because we don't build at the kind of volume that the big production builders at $1,000 over
Right.
1,000 houses would add up to be a lot of money. So we do like to add things when we can. Um, but ultimately, we still have to be smart and we have to be careful with how we spec up the landscaping, pools, appliances, cabinetry, fixtures. Those things really move the needle. Windows, for instance. So, the type of stucco, the type of drywall texture, the type of doors.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of little things that the exact same house could go from, let's say, $300 a square to build to $350 a square to build. Very, very simple with about 4 different vendors. You chose this appliance package, this cabinet package, and you went ahead and did the different plumbing fixtures versus a cold or whatever. And
Yeah.
now you're, I guess I should say, instead of giving hard numbers, you're at 20% on build costs. And you may not have moved the sales needle 20%. You may have moved it 7, 8%. So that's the kind of calculus you have to do to figure out where's the sweet spot. I think I was erred in the side of overspecking for many years and then pulled back. And I think I've underspecced some of our current stuff. I think some of it's a little
And that's the
underspecced.
balance. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
again, we're building the house. i-
Right.
Production on that home starts so far before
So
it
far
actually
upstream.
goes on the market.
Yeah.
I mean, till it's a completed home and ready for occupancy, so much can change. And 2025 was a perfect example of that. Some of those homes that we started at the end of 24, 25, when
Mhm.
it was a little bit softer,
Yeah.
by the time you close them out, now you've pulled back some of your spec levels
Right.
and would have gotten away with higher spec levels by the time the market,
Kind of
reheated.
equilibrated. So,
But you don't know that and you can't predict those things. So it gets tricky. I mean, even though you'll decide on the front end what's going to go in it, sometimes we get to that moment and it's time to pull the trigger and you're like, you know what, let's just
let's pull
step
back a
back.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because these
Yeah.
were,
And so I think that may have happened. In
it,
some cases, we're just out of caution. The market was calling for a slightly lower price point and a little bit less upgrade. And
less
so we
sizzle. Definitely less sizzle.
yeah.
Um,
So
eh,
we went in that direction. And then, 6 months later, when the house actually hits the market, you're like, oh, darn, I wish I
could
could
have
have
done
seen
that.
this in my crystal ball.
Could have done that. When we have our inventory usually pretty much once they're a slab, we put them as available on our website, or at least at least our agents are showing them as well, or saying,
Right.
hey, we have this other single story on the golf course, we have this or this with it.
Yeah.
And they were out there. They were on Zillow because they're on our BDX platform. So they're
Yeah.
out there. And when you're not getting any calls on them, or the calls you're getting and the showings you're getting have so many objections on things that you didn't even realize were objections, things you can't change, search
Right.
proximity within the whatever it is, and you're sitting here going, "Ooh, maybe that lot wasn't as good of a lot as I thought it was." So therefore, instead of this house being a $2.3 million home, maybe this is a $1.8 million home, and I need to adjust it accordingly. And maybe it was a self-fulfilling prophecy that because I said, "Hey, what kind of drywall texture you want to do," which you decide about 4 months before the house is done, or 5
Yeah.
months before the house is done, and you're saying, "Do level 3." do level 3. It's fine. No one,
Yeah.
no one's really serious or hot on this house anyway. I'm worried it's not, we need to dial it down. And we slowly did that on a couple of homes. And then by the time it was nearing completion, it felt very much like a 1.9, not a 2.3. So I got in my head, I overcorrected. And I'd be lying if I said that some of that overcorrection wasn't from 23, 24, 22, even,
Yeah.
where really no matter what, I was overspecing, I was leaning on the side of overspecing. And then I kept thinking to myself or saying to myself, gosh, I feel like that home would have sold for the exact same price had I not spent $73,000 on appliances, $190,000 at cabinets. You think, did I really need to do that? And that got into my head. So the pump was already primed to underspec. I didn't realize that, but it was primed to
Yeah.
underspec. And then market feedback was basically telling me to underspec. We had a really kind of lackluster 2025 in terms of the real estate market. So as these homes are
And
going up,
24, going into 25, we already knew there was some climate change.
definitely, definitely. So yeah, definitely a tonal shift into
Mhm.
24 leading into I felt it all of 25. I thought there were some bright spots in it, but there were definitely more headwinds than anything. And made all those
And we're still
decisions.
feeling it to some degree. I
Oh,
mean, it's
for sure.
warming up, but
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
we're
Yeah.
not, there's
Yeah.
still a soft,
But now it's
soft
leaning
market.
me towards, because when I started in the business, I mean, if we go back to the first ones, which when it was barely a business, I was more a broker
Yeah.
at that time, but I was still making these kind of decisions, or even
Right.
renovations I did to sell and fix and flips. And, that's sometimes I'll call on those experiences, because although they weren't new construction homes and it wasn't part of first home builders, it's still knowledge to say, let's say I flipped 40 houses over the 5-year period. I don't know how many it was. It was in the 30s for sure. That
Mhm.
was a lot of decisions. Okay, this house is in Green Valley. This house is in Anthem. This house is in Summerlin. I think I can get away with this, 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 and this. This house is in Centennial. Or this house is in 89131. What is my competition? This is what buyers are
Mhm.
valuing. And then, you're looking at those little zip codes. And although it's only one house and one little project, you still make a lot of specking decisions. So my point is that when I say I overspec, I don't just mean the new construction. I mean the flips. I always overspec my flips. And I'd have a renovation budget of 50, 60,000, and then a margin of 15,000 or 20,000. You could probably get at a $30,000 margin. You probably still would have sold the house for what you sold it for. So that's where those kind of stings came from. But my point is, when I got into that type of business, the market was soft. Originally, the first few builds and the first two renovations. So anyway, my point is that I earned my grit in a soft market. So that's why I was overspecking, because I wanted to stand out. So I can call on those traits, I can call on that skill and that mentality easily. That's easy for me to do. So I need to, and I already have. I feel like we've corrected the ship on all of Serene in terms of upstream from that product selection on Westridge and Argos. We're probably overbuilding a little bit. And I know on Foundry, the things that we're doing there downtown, probably more than we need to do, but I'm erring on that side of standing by a product that I feel like I didn't leave anything on the table. I really
Mhm.
maximized that development. And that's ultimately what the name of the game is. It's finding the highest and
Mhm.
best use for that property. Even if it's a luxury home and a country club, there is still a highest and best use piece for that,
Yeah.
for that piece of land. It's easy because we already know it's single family. We already know it's luxury. We already know it's probably X number of square feet. But what else is there that would be the highest and best use for that
Yep.
parcel? So
Yep.
those are really
And we're a custom builder, right? I
right,
mean, we're building custom and semi-custom, and we're now moving into multifamily. But
right.
as y- y- over time, that's what you've been. So by categorically that, you hear custom, you want it to be high-end finishes. You're looking for a, luxury product. Buyers are looking for a luxury product. The communities you've been building in historically are
Right.
high-end, right? They're on the country club. So people are looking for that lifestyle. So now to do kind of the mental shift to take some of what we do to other locations in the valley or other
Yeah.
price points is, that's a trade. And just as a person, you like nice things. So
Yeah.
it's
Um,
hard to, we're probably really bad for each other because we'll walk into a showroom or some of these places and we're like, this is beautiful.
yeah.
So we gravitate toward the
We
pretty
can
things, but
solid Carrera
and
marble for
design, very
$25 a square
expensive.
versus porcelain for 4. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Yeah.
not going to put a Formica countertop when
No.
we could put quartz. I mean,
Right.
so it's those kind of things that other people might be willing to take or cut corners on that you're just not.
I'm not. And
Even regardless of what we're building, even on our townhomes. I mean, I know recently you had somebody suggest we were going to do, what if we did the form, it was
micah
a
and vinyl floors and
colleague or,
carpet.
not in our business, but
Right.
a friend of yours
Right.
said we should do Formica countertops. And you were like,
I don't think times are that
really?
bad. Jeez, I don't think I don't think this is so that
Yeah. So it's just, there's an expectation for who you are as a builder and what you want to do too.
right.
So
And
kind of,
that's the bottom line. I mean, we had this, we talked about this on the last podcast, the passion there. If you're passionate about it, you have to be proud of the things that
yeah.
you put out into the world. I mean, I love the restaurant example. I beat it like a dead horse, but a chef, no matter how, no matter how much he has to watch that bottom line, the
Yeah.
best restaurants are ones that are okay with some compressed margins because it has to be right. It has to be correct. It has to be something
Uh-huh.
that they're proud to put out. It has to be a menu
Yeah.
they're happy with, and it has to be food quality they're proud of. So that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time. We're also in a point with a lot of our builds in that cycle where it is time to spec. Serene, we're specing those in real time, and we're already hitting the ground running with our Foundry Square products. So we're already specing out windows. I've got bids on windows and tinging them all to black, and I mean, I'm making those decisions in real time, and it's definitely occupying a lot of my bandwidth. And
Yeah.
we're also dealing with some upstream stuff on our other projects that is more kind of set in stone and locked in. Are you sure you want to go 12-foot ceilings? Are you sure you want to do RV garages? Are you sure you want to do 2x6 section? You're sure. It's too late on one of them, and the other one is still in that maybe not. But I know we're going to do the maybe. Or with a yes.
Ever a point where you have circled back on decisions that were made and pulled something out and upgraded it, or
That
vice versa? Pulled something out and downgraded it to fit. I don't know about downgrade. I don't want to say that, but you know what I mean? Like changed.
picked it
I don't
all.
know. I'm thinking about, like the garage door openers, for instance.
Right.
So we've done the side panel or the above, and
Right.
and so as time changes and new things come out, that the side panel is sort of the new
Right.
shiny object. Is there a time where you put in one of those and got to that point and thought, we're going to change, or vice versa? You were like, this home really doesn't dictate a sales price that could carry this kitchen,
Yes.
cabinet package or whatever.
Yeah, I've been all the way down to signed proposals. I've been all the way down to appliances at the dock and backpedaled on that. And
Have
in the
you?
last 6 to 12 months, it's been going in the other direction, where you're
Yeah.
taking it and bringing the spec level down, which is why the theme of the episode I figured would be the risks of underspecing and
I love
overcorrecting.
it.
And that's kind of when you feel that sting and you walk through the home that's done and you think I already did all of this effort, it would have taken nearly the same amount
Mhm.
of time and the same amount of effort, maybe just more time because let's say level 5 drywall, level 4 drywall takes an extra week and to sand finish
Right.
versus the dash, just little things like that do
Mhm.
add to the timeline. But you think, did I really? It was the same amount of effort. And you walk through and you go, don't like the windows, don't like the stucco texture, don't like the drywall texture. Those things can really kind of wear on you, and it has been.
Not if they're beautiful
They're
homes, but
stunning.
because the options, you're looking at a level 3 drywall, wwhereas
Yes.
an agent or a buyer who walks through there isn't necessarily going to
And,
pick that up in the same way that you would because you're the builder.
and 100%.
You may have
Yeah.
them go just guy, sure.
Right, once you know the alternative. And also I wasn't going blind. I mean, not only did I have market feedback from the product we're putting out there, but I also know what else is available in that South Shore Country Club. Let's use South Shore, for example. I know what's available in the Serene. I know that it's what they're seeing elsewhere. So it should be more than acceptable. But in a
Right.
market that gets really soft, and when you're a builder that doesn't have a big tract and a huge nationwide footprint or even just a valley footprint,
Sure.
you've got to do a little bit more to stand out, to be a compelling product. And I just look around at these and say, yes, this is in line with the competition. It's definitely in line with the production competition and certainly better than that on the North Shore. But we need to be compelling in other ways and compete with that kind of nationwide footprint, nationwide marketing spend, and that, all the goodwill that they have in the country or county at large over the last 25, 30 years that people know what they're getting. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
value that people place on unknowns, or I should say lack of value, right? You're going to get it. You're going
Right.
to get a knock for being unknown. I mean, that problem is rapidly curing itself, but and it doesn't mean we would dial down our spec level anyway. But when I look at it and say, well, Toll is doing level 3, and Toll is doing the vinyl windows, and TriPoint's doing that, well, and whatever the case may be, and they're offering that as their standard, and we're kind of playing, catch up with them and saying, well, yeah, they are, but you can't. And you're building specs. You're not building a model home and then letting them choose those upgrades and showing them the model with every single available upgrade and using it to upsell them. You have to just show it on the actual unit. That's just the nature of
That's
what it
it.
looks
It's a
like.
one-off, right? Each one is an
It's custom.
individual home versus a model track where they can really go hog wild with the model. And
Right.
then, you walk through it and they're like, oh no, that's not included. And that's not included. And that's not included. And that's
Right.
not included. So by the time you strip it all out, you're back to a base price. But you're right. We don't have that
We know the
option. We can't,
infrastructure. Yeah.
print out our model because our
Right.
home that's for sale is that one
Is
of
the
a
model.
kind
Right.
custom.
And
So
I would
that's an interesting.
rather, as we progress further down the road on this business, I would rather, even Foundry, for instance, I don't want to have a lot of things in the model that either aren't included or not available or are an arm and a leg to upgrade. I'd rather just say, pick something that works for that price point, be about 10% better than any of your competition. Foundry is a little different because we don't have new home competition, but maybe that buyer is otherwise looking in the Northeast for 400,000 and they're saying, well, I don't necessarily love that area either, but at least this is really close to work, really close to the airport, really close to whatever.
Plus
And
the
you think,
freeway access. You can hop on and hop
easy,
off. I mean, you can, yeah,
literally 2
it's a great
stoplights.
location.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy. So anyway, you know, yes, we looked at our competition and I looked at what they were doing versus what we were doing, and I felt like we were better. We were probably 3 to 5% better, and I think we needed to be about 10% better for largely the same price. And that's okay. We don't have the admin costs. We don't have the shareholders to answer to. I mean, that's okay. And that we're also microscopic in scale versus a Toll Brothers when you look at their nationwide scope. So it's not. I mean, it's just that this is ultimately a small business with a pretty small team, and if we can be competitive at all, that we should be grateful for that. So, the long of it is, or the short of it is that we have underspected in the last probably 6 to 8 months. I don't think they're inferior. They're in line with their competition, but we can do better. We can blow our competition out of water. Probably still see the same margins because they'll carry a higher sales price, and we'll see where that takes us. And there's other ideas that I have, right, in terms of our late buses, our South Shore product, definitely higher standard. I'm thinking also I wanted to run this past year. I've always had this hesitation when we talk about appliances because people ask, and that type of buyer knows. My thought is that I don't know if this muddies the water, but even updating the standard features to say there is a $40,000 appliance package budget, and you work with Margaret at Appliance by Design, and you pick them out. If you want that to be KitchenAid or GE, but then it also gets you a double stackable washer or dryer that's $6,000. Then you do it. Now, do I think we can do our current spec level in our Westridge and Argos? Absolutely. 1.3, 1.4, totally fine. But I think we might need to change it up a little bit on our South Shore, and I just don't know. I don't know what that looks like, or if maybe we even do it on Serene because that's a very similar demographic. I don't think it's as aspirational wealth. I think a lot of those people are buying because of the square footage, and maybe they want a new house or they want to. I think there's other reasons.
If they have something specific they want. And I guess that's kind of the point. If our buyer comes to us early enough in the build process,
Right.
they still can select that, and then it just
Right.
would be reflected in the total sales price of the home. But that's not always the case.
Right.
And so if the home is completely finished and we've already made all those decisions without a buyer,
Right.
how much are we willing to
bend, to remove, or to give, or whatever. And I also think when we're showing a lot of pre-sales, having that big number just sounds so much more reassuring. Nothing's been picked, but the builder has a $40,000 allocation that you could go to Appliance by Design, or honestly, wherever. You just get us the model numbers and spec this house out to your heart's content. You have $40,000 to spend. If you spend 47, you pay the 7,000. That's it. It's very simple. If you want a lock for you, range imported from France. It's 17,000. If you're okay with providing your own washer and dryer, that's fine, right? I mean, it's a bucket of money. Builder has a $40,000 allocation for you. So you can spec your Viking, your Thermador, your Generator, your Sub-Zero. And if they have a buyer's agent, the buyer's agent should know they're asking on the ground. That's asking a lot, but they should be able to say, oh yeah, 40,000 is a very healthy budget. We're not saying, yeah, we have 10,000 to spend.
I mean, I'm thinking from a marketing perspective, what if there's just a little plate that we put on the wall that says credit for this of your choice or that of your choice? I
Yes.
guess then it doesn't feel finished. It
Yes.
doesn't.
This is the thing to
Yeah.
me. Appliances, I love new appliances. Sometimes the new house feel are the appliance, like it's something shiny just from your lizard brain. It's
I
something
agree.
shiny to look at. It still
Yeah.
has the energy guide thing on the, you could just tell it's never been used. You don't have to visualize it. It's already there.
Yeah.
But I did think about that because I liked that from even having them there, still having the placard, even though something is there, and just saying $25,000 appliance. I'm pretending like one of our homes is a model home. Like if we did that at Miramar, because it's functioning as a sales tool to say, Trust Home Builders offers this appliance package, whatever, 50,000, whatever it is.
Right.
So
I think it matters more on the luxury product
it
lines,
does.
though. Those buyers have an idea of what they want, or they've cooked on other ranges. Whereas I
Right.
think you get into those more mid-level, or
Just the fact that it's 48 inches is enough for them. They're right.
yeah, and we'll still put a nice range in there, um, but the likelihood of somebody coming in and asking to upgrade the range on, a
Not likely.
a price point that's right at the median sales price in the valley,
Yeah,
that's just not. I mean,
I agree.
we wouldn't typically accommodate that. But you take it up to a price point that's in the $2 million range, and somebody walks in and they're not really thrilled with a Gen Air because
Right.
they, like you said, they currently have Sub-Zero or Thermador or whatever they've got, Viking. But yeah, so at what point do we have to decide, well, you're buying the Thermador range, so if you want something different, you'll close on this one, then you'll have to, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question because there's, we want to give them the house they want. We want everything to be exactly like they want, but it also, what do we don't want that range back either. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
we could just put it in the next house, but
It's
then
playing
they,
whack-a-mole. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think that, it only works if they're not spec'd. I can't be swapping on appliances. I mean, I feel like appliances matter more than I realized. And we fixed the windows, we fixed the stucco, we fixed the drywall, we fixed the
Yeah.
tray ceiling, and all those other things that we've started to add. We fixed all those things, and the appliances are the last thing that I haven't addressed. I just feel like, gosh, I'm still going to spend $10,000 on appliances. Let's spend 40 and really wow them. I'll never underspec appliances anything over 1.5 ever again.
until it's one of those, you don't know it until you know it, but now that you
Right.
know it, you'll never do it again.
That's true. And you
Yep.
never forget a mistake that cost you money or
Uh-huh.
that
That
caused
costs
you
you
pain.
money. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've said that before.
Yeah.
It's your
So
pain point.
that is a main point. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to brainstorm on that. I don't know if we want to go through this certain thing, maybe that's pulling back the curtain too much, but when we talk about what drives cost, I mean, interior doors, windows drive cost, drywall texture, stuff on texture, cabinet quality, and appliances. Those really drive the costs. But they
Mhm.
really make a difference, I think. And we did certain things. We still did the sawtooth stairs. It cost me 17,000 instead of 10,000 or 7,000. So I didn't underspec them completely. They're not, completely bare bones, but there's just things that I think are, number one, really hard to change after the fact. And number two, high touch points. Cabinets are high touch points. Drywall texture is
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Doors you touch every day. I mean, I did a semi-solid door, and we're doing them at Serene, except on lot 5, but only because they're just so much longer lead time to get the solid core. But it does drive cost. So those are things that really are like the premium version of whatever you're talking about is 3 times the cost of the entry. It's not just something as simple as, a 5-inch baseboard versus a 7-inch baseboard. No, these are huge. I mean, a door package for 5 versus a door package for 2 is like triple. It's huge,
Oh.
huge price difference. And total, not just the product, but also the install. Solid core, really hard to work with. So anyway, just things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been great. Yeah. It's a good conversation.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to kind of pull back the curtain, if you will,
Hmm.
on a topic that you wouldn't really think of, the risk, right? The risk of
Right.
underspecking. So that's, yeah, not something that you would typically imagine, but there definitely is a risk. And like you said, there's a pain point associated with it.
There
So
is.
yeah,
And
it's
if you're
good
not,
info, good intel, and it continues to drive what we do and how we pivot within the market and what the market is dictating. And so much of what we build is passion driven. So
it
while
is.
we start a market and we are trying to be fluid to stay with it, there are just certain things that we don't give up because
Right.
of your standards and things that we want to
Right.
do just in the quality of what we're building anyway. So thank
Exactly.
you for your time. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. And hopefully you learned a little something and some interesting tidbits. So we'll see you next time on the next episode of Trust the Process podcast. Thanks for being here. Bye bye.